AI tools and AI governance for your Agentic AI applications. I'm joined by Pete Clare from Concentrix. Over to you, Pete.
Thanks, Vidya. This is Pete Clare. I'm a field CTO at Concentrix, and I focus on all things technology transformation. And right now, as you can imagine, everything Agentic AI sits in that highly transformative category.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. And just as a reminder, folks, the Q&A button can be found, the Q&A option can be found if you click on that matrix icon at the bottom right of your Meet window, where you'll be able to select Q&A and post your questions. We have other folks from Google and Concentrix joined here to help answer your questions as and when they come up. And we'll also try and save about 5 to 10 minutes towards the end to dedicatedly answer your questions. All right, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Pete to continue our series.
Awesome, thanks, Vidya. So in terms of the webinar, we're going to start with a really short recap from the last session. We're going to talk about and demo effortless agent building. We're going to talk about the need to ground your agent in enterprise truth and what that means. In fact, we're going to go into the concept of enterprise truth in a fair amount of depth. We're going to touch on security and governance, and we'll end with a bit of a focus on solution architecture. So those of you that attended the first webinar in this series, this will look quite familiar, at least topically. So in part one, which was titled From Roadmap to ROI, we highlighted the key benefits and risks. Agentic AI acts autonomously to solve problems, and it can adapt through feedback, which can drive productivity, security, user experience, and business growth. However, it's really important to remember that Agentic AI is inherently probabilistic in nature. Therefore, it has a high degree of unpredictability. The cost structures can be uncertain. There can be difficulty in guaranteeing security constraints. That can introduce new challenge by itself. It requires effective productization, use case selection, governance, and all of the concepts that we've talked about over the past decade or so around AI and productization of capabilities through API are really, really important. So in API-centric architecture, all of these things combined form the foundation for managing both the opportunities and risks tied to Agentic AI. We also talked about how important it is to look for agentic tasks that are ideally suited for Agentic AI. So when evaluating use cases, make sure you start by considering whether or not the use case is even appropriate for Agentic AI, and make sure it has clear line of sight to value and how to measure that value. So great places to look are tasks that people perform today that are time consuming, and generally people are bored doing these tasks. So they're not necessarily value add tasks. They're things that people need to do to fulfill their job. So given the unpredictability of AI agents, make sure that the output of those tasks can be easily verified for usefulness and impact. And decide how you're going to measure that impact before you even get started. So moving forward to today's webinar, we're going to start by looking at what it means to effortlessly create Agentic AI agents, and we'll actually do a short demo on how that actually works as well. So AI agents really represent an evolution in how software is built and how it will deliver value. And we kind of think about this, if you look at the slide left to right, as an evolution. So on the left-hand side, we start with autonomous action. So this is really the most basic agent that can be created. So it's an agent that can carry out basic tasks on its own. It's useful, but its usefulness is really narrow. It's mostly about execution without deeper thinking. From there, the next step of evolution is adding in reasoning and planning. So now you're empowering your agents to go beyond simply acting. They can now break down a goal into steps, weigh alternatives, and make smarter choices. This really moves us from basic automation to real problem solving. From there, think about evolving your agents into a domain of continuous learning. So this requires feedback loops and real-time monitoring of behavior. So here, agents improve over time. They take what they've experienced and they refine their behavior. So instead of static software, you have an adaptive intelligence that grows more capable as it's used. And then finally, the most transformative point of evolution is really multi-agent collaboration. So when multiple agents, each specialized in different skills or domains, can coordinate and work together, the impact of each of those agents multiplies. So this is where truly complex challenges can be tackled, because intelligence is no longer limited to a single agent, but becomes an ecosystem of interconnected problem solvers. So you can see in the arc, from simple autonomous action to thinking and planning, to learning and adapting, and ultimately to collaboration at scale. It's really kind of the journey of AI agents and the way we see agentic AI evolve in our client landscape. And this is why, if you think about the potential, especially of multi-agent collaboration, this is really why there's so much focus on agentic AI being the next frontier of software. So, so when we're thinking about building an AI agent, there are really four key components that work together that we need to think about and focus on. The first are the models. So this is obviously what gives the agent its brain. It gives it the ability to interpret a goal, create a plan, decide how to achieve it, and generate a natural response. Second, we have the tools. So agents often need to do more than just converse. They might need to fetch data, call APIs, complete transactions, or invoke a deterministic task in some fashion. And the tools really is where you actually grant agents that ability. The third element is orchestration, which is really the glue that holds the process together, whether it's managing memory or state of the actual transaction, the planning logic, everything needed to make that interaction cohesive across steps. And then finally, the fourth element is the runtime itself. This is where the execution environment, where the agent actually comes to life when it's invoked. So together, these four elements, models, tools, orchestration, and runtime, form the foundation for delivering a capability and a reliable AI agent to perform that capability. I'll kick it over to you, Vidya.
Thanks, Pete. So this is kind of where Agentspace comes in, right? In terms of what does Google provide as solutions and tools to help you build your agentic journey, to help you, adapt your agents, to help you, customize your agents, to help with very little effort expose an agentic interface for your enterprise. So Google Agentspace is this secure AI-powered agentic platform that fundamentally redefines how you do work within your enterprise. It provides a unified and intuitive agentic interface, and one of the core value propositions is its ability to find information across diverse content types, right? This isn't just basic keyword searching. Agentspace leverages advanced AI, including Google's enterprise search capabilities, to meticulously examine text, images, and videos, and leading into deeper and more precise insights. Beyond merely finding information, Agentspace provides an understanding of complex enterprise data, right? Its integrated AI models reason and make sense of intricate information, allowing your enterprise to extract meaningful intelligence from your existing knowledge base. This understanding is crucial for building any type of effective AI agents, right? Agentspace also empowers organizations to act on the understanding of your enterprise truth by enabling the creation and deployment of AI agents within Agentspace, right? These agents can be designed to take action on repetitive tasks. They can help with automation of workflows and effectively significantly boost your productivity. And one of the key differentiation lies in Agentspace providing the environment to build agents very quickly, from simple no-code creations, and also to incorporate more complex customized agents, right? And so at the end of the day, Agentspace has a ton of built-in functionalities, such as built-in capabilities when it comes to connecting to different data sources, built-in connectors, built-in search functionalities, which make it pretty robust in terms of an agentic experience that you want to offer your enterprise. And it also makes it also is built with robust security and infrastructure in mind, whether it is security when it comes to access of data, whether it is security when it comes to like compliance controls and other governance capabilities, right? And this ensures that as you deploy your AI agents and integrate them with sensitive enterprise data, your information remains protected and adheres to all of the necessary regulations, and ultimately allowing your organizations to scale your AI initiatives with like more confidence and reliability. So now that we know what Agentspace is, one of the aspects to focus on when it comes to building AI agents with Google tools, specifically Agentspace, is the evolution of agent building that typical enterprises go through as they're leveraging Agentspace and associated tools, right? So initially, enterprises usually experience immediate benefits by using the Agentspace, chat interface. They can very quickly stand up an Agentspace app, and they can, from that app, gain insights from existing data sources and connectors, existing documents. They can work on really rich multimodal media. They can foster an early exploration of their agents or agentic architectures within their enterprise. Right. Agentspace also empowers your users to build within Agentspace their own no-code agents using the existing native connectors and data sources that Agentspace has access to, and that's a feature called Agent Designer. As enterprises typically progress, after having built this simple agent interface, they then progress to build more enterprise-ready agents, right? So they typically want to move beyond initial experimentation and move into building governance and security. They want to focus on grounding their agents in more of your specific enterprise truth, and also address concerns such as scalability, right? And at this stage, enterprises typically start looking at expanding the functionality of their Agentspace apps and making them more enterprise ready. Typically in the ongoing weeks, enterprises typically develop advanced agents and connectors for deeper integration into more complex business scenarios. They start looking into orchestrating multiple agents for intricate tasks and potentially addressing sophisticated business challenges. And ultimately, this journey allows enterprises to leverage Agentspace to move from basic AI agent experimentation to deliver highly tailored, sophisticated AI agents across your organization. Right. So when you think about what tools does Google offer, what options does Google offer when I want to start building my agent, right? So if I were to translate the journey that we just talked about, of evolution of agent building into Google solutions, there are three key phases in agent building with Google. The first being leveraging Agentspace as is with its native data connectors and multimodal search capabilities. You may also build simple no-code agents using natural language description and instructions, and the available native data connectors for specific contexts and tasks. And this is done using Agentspace Agent Designer capability. The next solution is when you need to build more robust agents grounded in your specific enterprise truth, where you may leverage Google's agent development kits to extend Agentspace with specialized agents that address your specific business needs and that can tap into a plethora of pre-built tools that ADK comes with. Typically, you deploy your ADK agents to a runtime like Google Agent Engine and attach these agents as assistants to your main Agentspace apps. And then last but not least, there may be scenarios where you need much greater flexibility and control, and you may want to build agents from scratch using open source frameworks like LangGraph, AG2, or Crew AI. You can still leverage the power of Vertex AI agent engine to easily deploy autoscale, manage sessions, memory, and the like, and other services for your agents. And then similar to the second solution, you can attach these custom agents to your main Agentspace app as assistants. So let's first take a look at how to go about building a simple agent with Agentspace. Effectively, in this scenario, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how you might build a simple agent within Agentspace after you've instantiated your Agentspace app using the feature within Agentspace called the Agent Designer feature. Right. So let me go ahead and put this in presenter mode, and I'm going to go ahead and play the video for you, which depicts how you might go about creating a simple agent with Agentspace. So Agent Designer is this feature within Agentspace that gives you the capability to, through natural language, describe what a custom agent within Agentspace might want to do, and based on the curated access to some of the connectors and data sources that are already attached to your Agentspace. Right. So, for example, here you see this custom agent, or this simple agent designer agent helps summarize this week's AI news. Right. Similarly, if you have an Agentspace app that has data sources and data connectors to various systems like Confluence, Jira, Salesforce, SAP, etc., you might want to create a custom application using Agent Designer, or custom agent using Agent Designer that is meant for a specific business context, right? And it hardly takes a few minutes, as we just saw, to create this agent. So the next thing that we want to talk about is, okay, so we can very quickly build a simple AI agent using Agentspace. But what about when you want to build a more enterprise-ready agent? What are some of the key aspects to focus on? And this is where grounding the agent in your enterprise truth comes in. Over to you, Pete.
Awesome. Thanks, Vidya. So when we talk about getting to a place where you have a successful AI agent running in a production environment, it's not just about building the agent. So we've seen it's actually really easy to build an agent in Agentspace. But to get to a successful agent that is actually safe and impactful, we really need to talk about grounding the agent in what we call your enterprise truth. So enterprise truth is the unique combination of your organization's information, capabilities, data, tools, constraints, policies, and processes. So it's the knowledge of what's true and what's allowed in your business. So without this, an agent is really just a generic problem solver. With it, the agent becomes valuable because it works with your systems, it follows your rules, it respects your compliance requirements, and it produces actions and answers that are trustworthy in the context of your business. So in other words, enterprise truth is the difference between an agent that's interesting in a demo and one that's productive, reliable, and safe in the real world. It anchors your agent to the business reality, to your business reality, and it ensures it's not just intelligent, but it's also aligned with how your enterprise actually operates. So in theory, identifying an enterprise's truth sounds straightforward, but in practice, it's really anything but. So large organizations generate and accumulate massive amounts of data, tools, applications, processes over time, and the result is a landscape that's inherently messy. So much of the data that exists in your organization is probably inaccurate or outdated. Systems of record don't always agree, and information quickly becomes stale. Documentation is often incomplete or poorly maintained, and it leaves critical context either ambiguous or buried in tribal knowledge. So on top of that, enterprises typically have redundant systems that perform the same capabilities in different ways. So different functions solving the same need in slightly different ways. It makes it really hard for an agent to know what source should be trusted in what context. And as I mentioned, a lot of this is context specific. So a policy or a process that may only make sense for a certain department, region, or use case, but it still overlaps with broader enterprise rules and that also need to be considered. So if enterprise truth is the foundation of building effective and impactful AI agents, then it really comes down to how are we going to curate and expose that truth? that becomes absolutely critical. So again, in large enterprises, information is scattered across systems, databases, and apps. So it needs to be shaped for AI consumption. And if it isn't, it's really fundamentally locked away and unusable. So that's why enterprise truth can't just be raw data sitting in silos. It's got to be deliberately assembled and structured. So a lot of what we've talked about in the AI domain as a tech sector over the past decade or so completely applies here. But for it to be used and trusted in the context of AI, we really need to take it to the next level. So this means surfacing the right information and data, processes and functions, and providing access through APIs and connectors into those trusted systems of records, and then wrapping those connectors with design patterns that are purpose-built for AI use cases. So another way to think about it is it's really about productizing enterprise truth. So when you expose curated truth in a trusted consumable format, you make it possible for the agents to reason with accurate information, to act safely, and to deliver outputs that the organization can trust. So to kind of put a fine point on this, the challenge isn't just identifying enterprise truth, it's actively designing and engineering the pathways to deliver it in a usable, product-ready way that extracts enterprise truth from a messy source of complexity and turns it into a competitive advantage for AI. So to make this a little bit more concrete in the context of the tool sets that we're exploring today, Agentspace is where you bring agents to life. Vidya's already kind of walked you through how easy it is to do that. And there are a number of ways to surface enterprise truth and to curate them and expose them for AI consumption. So MCP, Apigee API Hub, integration connectors, app integration, and toolbox or databases are just a few of them. And I will hand it back to you, Vidya.
Thanks, Pete. So in particular, I want to talk about two of the key tools that can help you curate and expose your enterprise truth to agents, right? One is Google's application integration and integration connectors platform. This platform comes with a no-code visual designer that can help you as enterprise users build either very simple or very complex workflows or process orchestrations. It also comes with 160 plus plug-and-play connectors to various data sources, as well as applications and SaaS services. And it comes with some of the most versatile tasks and transformations that you can perform within an integration workflow. This platform is one that is fully integrated into the Google Cloud landscape, and it is auto-scaled, and so it's a serverless PaaS solution, meaning that you don't need to worry about maintaining infrastructure for this particular platform. When you build an AI agent or AI agentic tools using application integration and connectors, you're able to curate your enterprise truth, both from the perspective of different data silos and data sources that you want to expose to your Agentspace experience or Agentspace app. As well as as well as from the perspective of exposing deterministic actions for your agents, right? So with application integration connectors, you're able to very easily both expose different types of connectors, different types of actions, and ultimately different types of tools for your AI agent to consume. Is the API Hub tool. Now, while Apigee is the enterprise API management platform for Google that Google offers for any and all API lifecycle management, and API productization, API security governance, etc., API Hub in particular is a key feature of this platform that provides your organizations with the ability to publish a universal API catalog across your entire enterprise, right? In this catalog, you can consolidate and organize your APIs that are hosted anywhere within your organization. You can, standardize on things like the specification, the authorization, authentication mechanisms that you use for your APIs. And you can also provide a very intuitive semantic search and discoverability capability across this catalog. At the end of the day, you can help API producers and consumers effectively manage the lifecycle of API endpoints that can be offered as agentic tools and ensure that these API tools exposed for agent development are consistent in nature. Right. So the API Hub toolset is the second key tool that I wanted to talk about. Now, moving on, what we talked about before is the different Google solutions that are available for building agents, especially with and attached to Agentspace, right? And one of the key ones is ADK with deployed to Vertex AI Agent Engine. ADK being Google's Agent Development Kit framework. ADK comes with, especially with regards to the two tools that we talked before, ADK comes pre-built with the application integration and integration connectors toolset, as well as the API Hub toolsets out of the box, allowing agent developers to fast track their time to delivery and deployment and expose phenomenal functionality with just a few lines of code, right? And so that's exactly what we're going to see in this next demo here. We're going to see how you can leverage ADK or Agent Development Kit to expand the functionality of your Agentspace app beyond some of the simple agents that you can build them. So give me just a moment. Let me go ahead and jump over to the recording here. So here you see there is an ADK application where I've simply provided a few lines of code, some natural language description about what the agent should do. This is a app developer productivity agent, which helps app developers search across multiple systems like Confluence, Jira, Stack Overflow, etc. Right, and it also provides the different tool sets needed for the functions that I want to provide within this agent. Specifically, I've used the application integration tool set. So you'll see there's an integration tool here, and there's a connector tool there. Integration I've used for Stack Overflow, and Jira I've used for the connector tool set. Right, or I've used the connector tool set for the Jira tool. So I've incorporated this ADK app as an assistant to Agentspace, and you'll see I'm providing some prompts here. So first I'm saying, hey, how do I go ahead and deploy ADK agents to Google Agent Engine? So anything related to that within Confluence, GitHub, as well as Stack Overflow is going to come up here as part of my results, right? So you'll see this is providing a guide from Confluence. It's also providing some more information that it looked up on Stack Overflow. And then the next prompt that I'm going to give it is I'm going to look for specific code samples, ADK samples within my GitHub. And so it's searching within GitHub, and it's going to give me a set of samples that are available for me to try deploying ADK agents on Agent Engine. And then the last prompt that I'm going to give it here is I'm going to try and see if I'm able to raise a ticket or a bug based on my experience trying to deploy an ADK app. Maybe there's something wrong with the sample in my GitHub repository. So first it's going to look up Stack Overflow, and it's telling me, hey, there's actually something that you can look up in Stack Overflow, and maybe it'll resolve your issue, but do you still want to raise a bug? And I say yes. And it's going to go ahead and ask for some more information, and then ultimately raise this as a bug in Jira Service Management. So you'll see that happening in a minute here. I'm providing a few more details for the bug that it needs to raise, and it's going to go ahead and raise the ticket or raise the bug, which you'll see here, issue with deploying ADK agent, right? So this is in Jira Service Management. It's gone ahead and entered that, and it's created this ticket for me. So the other two things that I wanted to show you is that in order to facilitate this, within application integration, I've created connectors for the various sources or the various systems, including Jira Service Management, as you can see here. And I've also included integrations where needed, right? So there was one tool, which was an integration tool, which is advanced search into Stack Overflow, where I use the Stack Exchange API, right? And I'm able to do things like different types of task management, as well as different types of orchestration and data mapping within this integration, and then expose it as an action-based tool for my ADK agent to consume. Which you'll see here in a minute. This is the Stack Overflow integration tool, and it's the exact same tool, which within a few lines of code within ADK, I'm able to describe this tool, describe what it does, just point to that specific tool instance or the connector instance, and we're good to go. The last step here is to make the connection between the ADK agent and Agentspace. I go to Agentspace configuration and configure this ADK agent, which is actually deployed on Agent Engine, which you'll see in a minute. But I've made the connection between that ADK agent and the Agentspace app as an assistant. This is a very easy to make configuration. You can either do it on the Google Cloud UI or you can do it using the Agentspace REST API. But once I've provided this, I'm just checking to see that I'm providing the right deployment of my ADK agent, which is on which is on Agent Engine here, Vertex AI Agent Engine. So with that, we have a fully developed agent, which only took a few lines of code to build, which is attached to my Agentspace app and expands the functionality of my Agentspace app to include some custom capabilities, some custom search capabilities, as well as some custom actions or deterministic action capabilities. Right. So now that we've seen typically what it takes to build an agent to surface out enterprise truth from your data sources and all the processes that you want to surface out using ADK in Agentspace. The next phase of agent development is going to be around how to make my agent more secure, more governed, and more scalable. And for that, I will hand it back to Pete.
Awesome. Thanks, Vidya. Cool. So we all know AI agents really have tremendous opportunities. It's unimaginable where this is going to evolve to, especially when we think about multi-agent collaboration and that highest level of maturity. But the security landscape around them is still very much an emerging field. So today we know that only about 22% of organizations are even doing AI-specific threat modeling. Only 5% feel highly confident in their AI security posture. And considering the rate of adoption and the amount of energy that's being poured into Agentic AI, it's a really low, slow pace of adoption around AI-specific security posture. So the risks are very real. So in the last year, 77% of organizations have experienced some sort of AI-related system breach. And many of those breaches came through insecure AI agents that were connected directly into business systems without the right guardrails. And I did see a question about guardrails in the Q&A that I'll at least partially answer right now. And that is the most important guardrails to start to put in place when you're starting to design is having that curated enterprise truth. So not taking an AI agent and just turning it loose on raw enterprise data, but making sure it's going through a connector of some sort that is curating a specific aspect of enterprise truth, whether it's information, data, function, or something else. So further, 97% of organizations have already reported security incidents tied to Gen AI. And obviously there's an awful lot of doubt that's being created around this whole space. It's the pursuit of value. We all know that there's an enormous amount of value, and the value proposition is increasing month by month, but there's an enormous amount of risk. So the story is clear. AI agents will only deliver enterprise value when they're built on secure foundations. Otherwise, as adoption grows, that gap between innovation and protection is only going to widen, and with it, risk customer trust and business continuity. You can't see. And Vidya's, kind of touched on the difference between Gen AI or AI in general, which is probabilistic in nature, in the need for businesses to perform deterministic tasks and the relationship and how you create those connections. And again, going through a curated enterprise truth, aspect of enterprise truth is a big part of how that works. But again, when you're pushing something probabilistic into production, you can't monitor it the way you monitor deterministic software. You've really got to think about behavior as opposed to, is the system up? Is it running? Is it doing what it's supposed to? You now need to think about, is that agent behaving the way you want it to behave? So over 70% of enterprises have adopted workflows where humans and AI collaborate. However, most organizations really lack that visibility to scale the processes. And for the most part, it's really that behavioral domain. So without transparency into how those handoffs are occurring, decision points, the behavior, managing AI at scale is really unpredictable and risky. So this is kind of the second big aspect of, you've got to consider curated enterprise truth as a guardrail. You've got to consider behavioral monitoring as well. So this lack of oversight is really starting to take its toll. There's a prediction that by 2027, over 40% of AI agent projects will be abandoned due to inadequate monitoring governance. Just a little delay on the slide change. Sorry about that. So, but really, observability is just one of many non-functional requirements. So when we talk about scaling AI in the context of an enterprise, the focus is often too hyper-focused on getting the right tool, getting the right technology, building the right functionality, what the agent can do and how we're going to get it out to do that thing. But the truth is, as adoption grows, the real make or break factor is going to be the degree to which you've implemented the non-functional requirements. So in traditional software, these requirements are critical. But in agentic AI systems, where software is autonomous and connected, dynamic, and can apply its own judgment, they are absolutely existential. We've all experienced that push, velocity, get the solution out the door, maybe a pushback against the non-functional requirements since they're not directly meeting business needs. We've really got to make sure we do a great job of ensuring that the non-functionals are in place. So without them, projects don't just underperform, they risk becoming untrustworthy, unmanageable, and unsustainable at scale. So functionality will get your AI pilot off the ground, but it's the non-functional requirements that are going to determine whether or not it'll actually scale and sustain. And obviously, there's a process by which we do this, and in some ways, it's not unlike other governance processes. So AI governance really is a continuous process that starts and follows 4 steps. The first is to define the use case so that AI isn't applied where it's not needed, understand what the business value of that use case is, understand the aspects of enterprise truth that are required, and plan for implementing gaps in enterprise truth. Next is implementing those protections by building that curated enterprise truth and consuming the enterprise truth that exists. Real-time observability checks will help you identify areas like hallucinations, ensuring that you're aware of hallucinations, building effective feedback loops, and ensuring that you're actually achieving the business value that you set out to achieve. Regular review will allow those systems to mature and adapt. And then this cycle is the beginning of how you're going to move in the direction of responsible and secure AI deployments. And I'll hand it back to you, Vidya.
Thanks, Pete. So this is where I want to talk a little bit about Apigee, because we talked about Apigee from the perspective of API Hub, but Apigee is Google's enterprise API management platform. It's crucial to not just agentic architecture, but also all API architecture. Right, and specifically in agentic architecture, it's important because it applies, it provides the capabilities to apply security and governance around your AI agents, your AI agentic tools, as well as your LLM endpoints at the end of the day. So Apigee in particular has a vast set of pre-built capabilities to help with this. It provides capabilities that can allow any agentic AI development endeavor to include aspects such as prompt sanitization, prompt request response inspection and threat detection, sensitive data protection, standardized authentication authorization for your agentic tools as well as your LLMs, LLM productization, the ability to take different LLMs that you may host internally and to package them up into different products that you want to offer to your agent developers. That includes capabilities like LLM routing and token-based throttling. So all of those capabilities Apigee provides out of box. And it also provides a level of end-to-end visibility and observability into your AI tools and LLMs that is critical, not just when triaging incidents or trying to identify how agents were being used, but also when trying to understand the effectiveness of your overall Gen AI use cases, right? And so that's where Apigee comes in, and specifically here we'll see how it can help with securing your agentic capabilities, right? Um, so the two key things that I'm going to be showing you in this demo is one, how can you leverage capabilities within ADK along with Agentspace to apply custom security schemes or security authentication authorization schemes to different data and system connectors. And the second thing that I'm going to be showing you is how we can leverage Apigee to apply security and governance around your LLM endpoints before they're ready and productized to be used by agent applications. So with that, give me a moment to put this in presentation. So here you have the ADK agent. This is another ADK agent that I built, which basically uses a connector to talk to ServiceNow. Except here I'm using a custom authorization scheme for, in order to talk to ServiceNow. I can make the scheme pretty granular. It's using OAuth, and I can make it pretty granular as to how and what types of data from ServiceNow I want to expose, what types of actions from ServiceNow that I want to expose beyond just the simple incident creation, right? And I'm able to do that very quickly within ADK with just a few lines of code, where ADK has pre-built capabilities to define authorization code, authorization credentials, and just apply those as attributes to the connector. Here is the example of that authorization workflow in ADK, where I'm going to ask it to create an incident with the details of the incident. And it's going to ask me, okay, do you want to create this incident? Give me a summary. And the next thing is it's going to ask me to log in to ServiceNow, right? Because it's going to use end user authorization in order to propagate, consent to be able to do certain tasks within ServiceNow. And now you'll see it's asking me, it's run into some issues, so it's trying again, and then it's telling me, okay, so I've created the incident finally, and here is your incident ID. I can validate that the incident with the same details were created. If I go into my ServiceNow incident list, you'll see I have laptop power, battery not functioning. And now you'll see I'm creating a similar incident where that same ADK application is embedded within Agentspace. And it's slightly different the way that you would embed that ADK agent into Agentspace. It is an assistant, but the propagation of authorization is slightly different, where, okay, you see that the issue was, the ticket was created, but the authorization was propagated by creating this resource called an authorization resource within Agentspace, right? Let's give it a minute here. So within Agentspace, you would use the authorization resource to configure that same custom authorization scheme that we created, right? And then I'm simply describing my agent in a similar fashion. I'm using, you'll notice in my agent definition, I'm actually using, so this is the authorization resource, but in my agent's definition on Python, the ADK Python, I'm using the dynamic token injection as opposed to the authorization scheme, right? And so using dynamic token injection, which you'll see in a minute here, we are able to inject the same level of authorization for this ServiceNow connector in my ADK code. And and then attach that ADK agent effectively as an assistant to the Agentspace application. So you'll see that I'm using dynamic token injection, and I'm able to get that same granularity of authorization. And ultimately, this is then deployed to Agent Engine, and that Agent Engine-based ADK agent is surfaced out to the Agentspace application in the form of a in the form of an assistant, right? Similar to how we did it before. Now, the second portion of this demo is I wanted to talk about how do you go about, productizing your LLMs before they are ready to be consumed by agentic applications. And one of the key things around that is security, specifically prompt sanitization. So we'll see in this demo how you can easily leverage Apigee to perform that. And this sample is available. We'll share this in our follow-ups. This is available for you to consume. And I'm using Colab here to be able to test this sample. What I've done is I've created an API proxy within Apigee that serves as a facade for my LLM. And within this proxy, I'm incorporating a policy that comes out of the box with Apigee called sanitize prompt. Right? And we'll see that in a minute here. So in that sanitized prompt policy, basically it is sanitizing, or it's checking based on Model Armor, Google Model Armor. It's checking what prompt injection it needs to check for, or like what types of sensitive data it needs to check for, what types of injection threats it needs to check for, what types of sensitive data it needs to obfuscate, for example. And in case it runs into a Model Armor match for some type of threat within the incoming prompt, it's going to send back basically a response that says, hey, it has a URL in your prompt and you're not allowed to do that. So you'll see in the API proxy, we've used that sanitize prompt policy to be able to effectively sanitize the incoming prompt. So I'm going to skip some of the things here. Let's go back to our agent code. So you'll see here, I'm simply testing this out using like GenAI SDK, but ultimately you can take the same LLM endpoints that you build with Apigee and surface them out using something like Light LLM with an ADK, or any other agentic frameworks that you may be building with. Here is an example of the same thing with a positive prompt, effectively one that does not match any of the sanitization rules that I'm looking for in Model Armor, and it comes back with a valid response without sending a response that says, hey, you cannot do X, Y, or Z thanks to what exists in the prompt. You'll see it passed all of the sanitization checks. So that brings me to the close of the demo. Effectively, we saw how we are able to both authorize and authenticate the use of tools within ADK, natively within ADK using authorization schemes, as well as how you're able to potentially leverage Apigee to serve as a proxy layer whereby you can implement various types of authentication, authorization, and governance for both your agent tools as well as your LLM endpoints. So with that, I want to wrap up this section, and I want to focus on giving you an overview of the solution architecture that we've built so far, right? So what we've seen here is effectively we've built an Agentspace app which performs some native connector-based capabilities. It provides search capabilities across different data sources that it can natively talk to. And we also saw how you can extend that capability using ADK. We incorporated 2 ADK agents into our Agentspace app. One was the productivity agent and one was the incident management agent. And we saw how you can natively use things like authorization schemes within ADK. You can natively use the app integration connector toolsets and integration toolsets within ADK to extend that ADK app's functionality or agent's functionality, and then attach that agent as effectively an assistant or a sub-agent within Agentspace, providing that functionality within Agentspace, right? We also saw how potentially you could leverage Apigee to serve as a protective layer for your LLMs and LLM endpoints before they are productized and ready to be used by your different agents. Now, this is where we are at today, but moving forward, this may be where we're headed, right? Where we are effectively leveraging not just not leveraging Apigee, for example, not just as a protective layer for your LLM endpoints. We may also put Apigee in front of your agent applications, because you want to do prompt sanitization, not just at the LLM level. Maybe you want to do it at the agent level as well. Additionally, you may want to leverage MCP, for example, Model Context Protocol, to surface out different packages of tools that you want to reuse across multiple agents. To make those tools universally available across multiple agents with a universal authentication authorization facade, and with discoverability surfaced out in the form of products that you can define within Apigee, right? And then finally, you may also leverage capabilities like agent to agent to help with collaboration between multiple agents. So the new world with all of the tools that initially Pete mentioned involves, A to A, it involves MCP, it involves API tools, as well as native connector integration tools, which ultimately are surfaced as APIs. And the need for having this gateway or governance layer becomes that much more critical, right? Speaking of which, I do want to touch upon A to A, because A to A is quite innovative in the capabilities that it offers, right? As we build out more and more sophisticated agents and agentic systems, a critical challenge emerges, right? How do these autonomous entities and agents reliably and securely collaborate with one another? And that's where A2A comes in. Traditional API protocols were robust, while robust, weren't designed for the dynamic, long-running, and often unpredicted nature of other agent interactions. And agents need to discover each other and understand the capabilities on the fly in order to manage different types of multi-turn conversations and potentially delegate complex subtasks to different autonomous agents. Right. One of the key features in A to A, or agent to agent, is actually this concept of an agent card. Think of this as an agent's public declaration of its capabilities, authentication requirements, and supporting interaction patterns, which ultimately enables seamless agent discovery and allows one agent to intelligently invoke another, understanding what it can do without prior rigid integrations. Right. So for enterprises, that means that agents can now, with agent to agent, dynamically compose complex workflows, adapting as new services or agents become available. And so this agent to agent ultimately brings us that much closer to our vision for the future, right? Which is going from building these autonomous actions to building more reasoning and planning-based, chatbots, to agents that can continuously learn based on their interactions, and ultimately to a landscape of multiple agents collaborating and communicating securely with each other to provide complex tasks, to provide complex assistance for different types of business challenges that we have. So I know we've rushed a little bit towards the end here because we did want to cover some of these things for you. We didn't want to miss out on that. But what we are going to provide as part of our next session is the ability for you to actually walk along with us and build hands-on in a workshop, where in a 2-hour workshop potentially, where you will build all of the things that you saw during the demo here. You'll walk away with the tools to build an agent, to incorporate tools, to expand your enterprise truth through connectors and integrations and so on. So please do come by and attend the next session as well. The QR code is on the screen there. It's happening on October 15th. So with that, we have a few minutes at the bottom here if we want to address some questions. So again, if you want to post your questions, you can post it on the Q&A option after clicking the matrix icon on the bottom right. You can go ahead and post your questions there. So let me see. So I think there are many questions here, so I'm going to pick out some of the key ones. So what are the best options to use Agentic AI with SAP S/4HANA, utilizing BTP platform where SAP also provides ready-to-use agents? So I would say it depends on the context, but there are definitely two different options here, at least with Google Tools. The first of which is you could use application integration connectors, where there's a pre-built SAP S/4HANA connector, which surfaces out all of the entities and actions that you want to provide as agent tools within SAP. And you can build really complex workflows within application integration in this completely no-code visual designer interface, right? Including the ability to like map data, map interactions, to have like parallel threaded interactions. All of that can be accomplished very quickly using application integrations and integration connectors that Google provides in order to surface out these as tools for your agents to use. The second thing is, if your SAP S/4HANA already provides, autonomous agents, what I would look for is there an opportunity for you to leverage something like A2A to be able to, create that communication and that secure interaction between perhaps like your main Agentspace agent, ADK agents, and the S/4HANA agent that you have. So that, I hope that answers your question, Avinash Patil. Maybe Pete, do you want to take the next question?
Vidya, I actually would like to just elaborate that a little bit. So I would also look at it through the lens of business domain and functionality. So you've got SAP HANA doing something, right? It's performing some aspects, and there are lots of different features and functionality that can be implemented in that environment. Don't build agents. Don't try to build agents inside SAP that have nothing to do with the business domain that platform is currently serving the business for. So think of it through the lens of business capability, and if you've got the ability to build an agent in that context that's kind of feature built, ready to go, and it's more turning it on, leveraging what's already there, makes absolute sense. But there are so many gaps in the organization that exist between applications. So think about building agents in Agentspace that are going to operate in those gaps or across those business domains where you're dealing with cross-system collaboration. And in all reality, that's where so much business efficiency is created, in the gap between your enterprise platforms.
Great. Thanks so much, Pete. I think we have maybe time for one more question, and we will send all of this data and follow up to you through the follow-up email. Pete, this is probably a good question for you. Can you share some enterprise-grade use cases that your customers have built using Agentspace? I can think of one, which is actually a more full-formed version of the productivity agent that I displayed today. I do have a customer that's actually building a sort of an app developer and DevOps 360 agent on Agentspace, leveraging not just the pre-built connectors that Agentspace provides, like Confluence, but also other connectors like Jira Service Management that application integration provides, as well as building their own custom connectors, actually, which is possible in application integration to their proprietary knowledge-based systems. Any other that you can think of, Pete?
Geez, we've got an enormous catalog of use cases that we've built, across a whole bunch of domains. I think you've nailed it, Vidya.
Yeah, and if you're interested, you can always take a look at some of the samples that's available in ADK, as well as some of the templates that's available on our documentation page. So if you're looking for ADK samples, it's just GitHub, I think Google Cloud ADK-samples. We'll share those links with you over the follow-up email. We are 1 minute over. So one last question I see is RBAC. Our ABAC also covered as part of Apigee API Hub. I believe that authorization or role-based access control for API-based tools is actually a functionality you would enforce within Apigee, and then, of course, surface out through the API Hub catalog within Apigee. Hopefully that answers your question. All right. We are 1 minute over. Thank you so much, folks, for joining and showing this type of engagement on this webinar series, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.